Alright, you two, have fun. I'll see you tonight. After that pandemic shit, those two deserve something lighthearted in the world. Speaking of light, I think it's time I shed some light on my content again. And what better way to do that than to find the darkness that's preventing said light from shining? Which is a nice way of saying, I'm doing a video about unpopular anime opinions today. Now before I begin, I want to preface a couple things. I'm not doing this video to piss people off or tell people they are wrong if they disagree with what I have to say about these upcoming opinions. Their viewpoints and reasons are just as valid as my own, and I absolutely got no issue if you disagree with what I'm going to say here. Keep enjoying what you like, basically, especially because these unpopular opinions are coming from an idiot with trash taste. Self-awareness aside, the other thing I want to make clear is that I don't check the pulse on every single forum or website that talks about anime or the like. So, what I view as unpopular viewpoints are based on what I've seen online, and it's very much likely that from what you've seen, what I'm about to say may be viewed as the popular opinion instead of the latter. So if I end up saying something that is actually a popular opinion instead of the latter, that's why. So with all that said, let's start off with an easy one. Can we stop making summary movies of an anime series? I get that they're made to make money and or to reinvigorate a series that has been dead for a while, but the latter can be fixed by just re-releasing the series or just doing something new with the property instead of retelling it in a compressed fashion like a summary movie is, or compilation movie, whatever you want to go with. Rurouni Kenshin's new Kyoto Archaeology, Freem Timeless Melody, Gundam Seed Special Edition. Ah yes, let's take a show already criticized for its fast pacing and make it even faster. That doesn't sound like a disaster waiting to happen. The frustrating part about this is that what I just cited are from the 2000s to currently. The internet has become more popular by this point, and with the first two examples, they are easily available on most legal streaming services, as well as have wiki pages nowadays that go over the story in short and also deep detail, as well as easy to access links to character pages that also inform the reader of what happened in a more cost-effective and easier sense than paying money to see a film that's compressed to hell, and is basically a Wikipedia entry of the film anyways, just dragged out to meet the runtime. If someone really wants to check out an anime series nowadays, they have multiple means to do so on the internet, and with the legal means, the cash flow from said sites flows back to the company and tells them that people are still interested in this property and will support it, so it basically makes these summary/compilation movies even more pointless nowadays, since these companies are making money from these services and are able to see that there's a big enough interest to see more of the property anyways. Also, you know, DVD sales, re-release that shit, people will buy it and that'll go back to the company too. So yeah, fuck these compilation/summary movies. They had a good point to them back then when home media and the net wasn't easily available / cost effective if you wanted all the episodes, but nowadays, honestly it's about as relevant as using gasoline to clean laundry. Though, speaking of explosive materials, I actually find Bakugo more interesting of a character than Deku. Now, that doesn't mean Nezuko/Deku isn't a good character. He absolutely is, and his journey so far in terms of development has been great. But to me, I just feel that Bakugo has a lot more going for him than Deku does. Not to the point of he should be the main protagonist or anything, but to the point of where I'm more excited to see Katsuki on screen than I am with Deku at points. Because when Bakugo makes his presence, I'm very interested to see what he does, and I usually am very pleased after his presence is gone, and he's done his actions in said time. Whether it be him being a dick to his enemies, him showcasing development from a loud bully to a slowly maturing person, or even stuff like working with Shoto and Deku while they intern with Endeavor, and yeah, it's kind of a spoiler, but kind of not really. Now, of course, Bakugo still has a long way to go in terms of development and power growth, as does Deku, so it's very much possible that Deku could be a more interesting character than Bakugo before the series ends, but as of currently, I think Bakugo is more interesting of a character than Deku is. Though, like I said earlier, he should not be the main protagonist, because then that runs the risk of overexposing him, and honestly it would make his presence in scenes that I just praised earlier a lot less special if he did become the main character. Ooh, I'm gonna go here for this one. I don't like Spirited Away. Now that's not to say I don't like anything about it, since I do find the animation to be very fluid, the color palette and background's fantastic to look at, as well as the unique camera angles to be very well done, and the music is alright to listen to on its own and when it's used in the film, but everything else about this film just didn't sit well with me. The story was really uninteresting. I didn't like Chihiro's character arc because not only did the way it concluded feel kind of rushed, but it felt like she didn't really learn/change all that much throughout this film when compared to how she was in the beginning. Oddly enough, though, the story is facing as the opposite issue with Chihiro's character arc. It feels stretched out as if it was done to meet the deadline, and it doesn't feel like a natural progression of events or the like, but rather them trying to milk as much time they could get out of the viewer before ending the film. Which is an issue I feel wasn't really present in Ghibli's previous works, save for My Neighbors the Yamadas, but that was more so a compilation of skits rather than a full-fledged story. So to see that issue here, it sucks to see, especially considering I've seen the studio handle pacing really well, and later films in their catalog do fix this issue, like Ponyo and Princess Kaguya, so luckily this didn't hamper my enjoyment of Studio Ghibli's later films and earlier films, but it was still a problem I had with this movie. And while on the topic of Chihiro, I didn't like a lot of the cast of Chihiro in this film. Either they were flat, or in Chihiro's case, not that interesting or likable as a protagonist. She was annoying throughout. I didn't like her chemistry with the other characters, especially Haku, since I felt it was more one-dimensional between the two than a natural romance/bond forming between the two. I just couldn't care for this character from start to finish. And that sucks, because I liked Ghibli's other female leads, like San from Princess Mononoke and Shizuka from Whisper of the Heart. I think what hurts the most, honestly, is that I wanted to like this movie. Especially since I have seen this movie 4 times over the years to see if it was something I missed when watching it when I was younger, but every time since my first viewing, whether it be for my last year of high school, watching it with my lady for an anniversary, or watching it during a marathon of all Ghibli movies, my opinion of this movie hasn't changed. And that sucks, because so many people regard it as one of Ghibli's best, and I would love to agree with that. But every time I see it, I'm sorry, I just can't agree with it, and that sucks. But at the risk of potentially pissing off Ghibli fans further, I will try and find a middle ground and say that Porco Rosso and Mononoke are some of Ghibli's best movies, and maybe some of the best anime movies I've ever seen. You know what? Screw it. Why don't I just do an unpopular positive opinion next? Actually, yeah, let's do that. I actually like Free Iwatobi Swim Club. Yeah, it's basically a run-of-the-mill sports anime. Yes, it's basically filled with man service for the most part, but I like the chemistry between everyone in the main swim club, especially Haruka and Makoto, since their interactions come off as very natural and sibling-like, which does make for some humorous scenes between the two. I like the story and struggles the club goes through to not only do their best in the big swimming contest, but to also try and save their club from getting shut down. And the animation is really well done, not only in terms of fluidity, but also color and design/backgrounds. It's visual eye candy, and I fucking love it. Easily some of Kyoto Animation's best-looking works. Speaking of this, I didn't think the epilogue of Digimon Adventure 02 was really all that bad. Yeah, the final fight with Milo Myotismon was pretty weird, and some of the career choices of a few Digidestined were held tilting, like Matt becoming an astronaut, and Jolie becoming a stay-at-home mom, but honestly, it just felt like a decent passing of the torch to a new generation. All the main cast got a happy ending for the most part, and now both digital world and real world relations seem to be pretty good, and allows both of them to travel to each other's worlds without any conflict, so there's that. Yeah, it wasn't a perfect epilogue, and it absolutely could have been better written to feel like a proper and satisfying closure of a story and franchise, but honestly, it was an okay epilogue for me. Not abysmal, not great, it was just okay. I don't really agree with many that says this is one of the worst epilogues and endings in the series, or even in anime. And hey, on the bright side, at least O2 did have a conclusion, unlike Try, where it basically tried a sequel bait at the end and barely wrapped up a lot of the story and plot points created throughout all 6 parts. And before you ask, yes, I do still plan on covering Kizuna. On the topic of finales though, I really didn't like Claw Knight After Story's finale. Especially since it feels like all the effort Tomoya put in to build his bond with his daughter and move past his wife's passing felt like it was ultimately for nothing, since they got them both back in the end via wishing orbs and time travel with vague implications that he kept his memories of the other timeline on top of that. Yes, it's heartwarming that his 2 biggest sources of joy are alive in this timeline after he lost them in the previous, but given that the undoing of the 2 deaths happens immediately after the death of Ushio, his daughter, it feels like a last-minute decision to try and give this anime a happy ending, and honestly, it doesn't feel deserved because of how rushed and poorly executed it all feels. That's not to say Tomoya doesn't deserve his ending, he absolutely does, but the execution fucking sucks. Hell, if you want to get emotion and drama out of the audience, instead of going the rushed route, maybe a potential solution may be to just have Nagisa and Ushio survive anyways, and show the bonds/struggles of Tomoya and Nagisa raising a child and the like. Hell, if you still want the orbs to be used, maybe have Nagisa go into a coma after the birth due to her weak immune system / mystery disease, and maybe have Tomoya talk with his dad to get closure and get his last orb, since that was one of the last orbs that he needed in the original timeline / series, and then after that have Nagisa recover soon after, with a vague implication that either the orbs had something to do with it, or that Nagisa recovered just fine without mystical intervention. There, now you still have your discussion of, oh, maybe the orbs did, or maybe Nagisa just recovered on her own. You still get people talking, which I think was kind of the point of the ending, but whatever. And then you could just have the remaining episodes be about the aforementioned family drama, or hey, maybe end it with a montage like in episode 22, where the two take care of Ushio and she grows up over the course of many years, while we also get to see the other characters and how they're doing. No, my suggestion is not a perfect one, far from it, and it does have flaws to it. However, the actual ending still does bug me from a writing perspective and emotional perspective, and ultimately it just leads to what I believe is one of the weakest finales in Kyoto Animation's catalog thus far, and that sucks because I do love the original Clawnaut series, but After Story just pisses me off so much. Anyways, I think that's all I got for this video. Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments below, and until then, I'm David Grimm, and thank you for watching.